middle of this series, I hope, called This Is Our Story. And I've invited Charlie Pollard. Come on down, Charlie. Don't you love Charlie Pollard? Oh, my goodness. I asked Charlie last Sunday, I said, hey, would you share your story? And he said, what? And he's like, I don't do it in front of people. And then he called me back. I said, well, just think about it. And he said, you know what, Pastor? God told me I need to share my story before you came up to me. That's kind of cool, isn't it? And so that made me realize that, you know what, he needs to share his story. So I have no idea. We haven't talked about this at all. It could be, I have no idea what's about to happen, but I told him to share. And I told him I'd sit with him as moral support. And
does this chair recline?
I wish. Share with us, Charlie.
Do you need some time after I get done here to talk?
Do what you got to do, man. The roast will be fine.
Story goes back a ways. I was 13 years old and living just north of Sherwood. My father had taken a second job. I'd get up with him and we'd come to Paulding and he'd drop me off at my grandma and grandpa Grimes's. They was regular attenders at the Nazarene church down on Perry Street. So I just naturally went along with them. In 1964, the summer of 1964, there was a tragedy in the church. A couple lost their teenage boy to a drowning while he was swimming with a group of teenagers from the church. A revival had been scheduled, and we was in services, and Harold Summons' brother Floyd was the pastor and speaker during this service. And when he got done preaching, there was an altar call. I can remember exactly who I was standing next to. I was standing next to the couple that had just lost their teenage boy. And as we were standing there, the Lord was moving. Grandma and Grandpa were the first to lead the way to the altar. And the couple I was standing next to was Bobby and Heidi and Ryan's grandparents, Arthur and Ozzie Thomas. And when Grandma and Grandpa come forward, Ozzie leaned over and asked me if I wanted to go pray. And I said yes, and I did. Lord forgave me my sins. And I've been joyfully serving Him for 53 years. And we wasn't the only ones praying around that altar that morning. The Lord was really moving. And there was several others that accepted that Lord that morning. And some of those names are Russ Rager, Ernie Daniels, Don Grimes, Justice Dunham, Beverly Grant, Harold Thomas, Mary Thomas, and Jeannie Thomas. And Dick Suman accepted the call to preach. That would be Harold's nephew. Now, two of these men were on the church board when they broke ground for this building. Russ Rager, he joined the board shortly after that and was a trustee and taught Sunday school for several years. Grandma, she went on to join the board and was missionary president for 22 years. her story, how she started going to church is kind of interesting. She would talk about when she was 9 years old, that in the winter when the snow got to flying, the weather was bad, that my great-grandfather would hitch a horse, and my great-grandma would heat some bricks on the stove and wrap them up so that they had something to keep their feet warm. And they'd come to church in a mud boat. That church they had went to was standing out at the County Road 87 and State Route 500. She talked about how logs was floated down Flat Rock and sawn on site, and that's where they built the church. Well, time went on, and a few years after that, the congregation decided to move the building to Paulding, and it was moved to Paulding. They added a basement with classrooms and a new choir loft, and that building still stands today down on Perry Street. So the fella that initially invited my great-grandma and grandpa to church was a guy by the name of Gus Lynn. Now, his daughter, Mabel Lynn, was a treasurer in this church for 30-some years, almost as many years as Guy Baldwin, which took over her position in this church. So, roots go back quite a ways, and the Lord has truly blessed this church.
I love it. Oh my goodness. What I love is think about going to a church in a mud boat in the winter. We have people that have AC and heat, and we can't get them to come to church sometimes. I'm not looking at anybody. I'm looking at the ceiling. Yeah, a lot of people don't know what a mud boat. I'm like, Charlie, talk.
Well, no, a mud boat is just simply a large sled that farmers used to move whatever they had to move around, and that was basically the only transportation they had, especially in the winter. So.
Yeah, and what I also love is the women in roles of leadership. I will get really pumped up. In 2 weeks, you will have seen nothing when Jessica's here. I am going to get so fired up. I just want to read one passage. Thank you so much. You can go down. Thank you. Isn't that awesome? Oh, I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Man, I love our church. I love it. The heritage, the tradition, the family, the like I said, people floating logs down a river to build a building. People, and we haven't gotten there yet, but in the 70s to build this building, taking out personal loans so that we could have where we're sitting right now. I mean, that's just awesome. And it was all because they believed that God had a message for our community, and they were willing to do whatever it took to make that happen. I just want to read a passage, and when I think about Charlie, and he has no idea what I'm going to say about him, but I'm talking about him just a little bit. This passage, I think, sums up who we are to be as Christians, and I feel like who Charlie is. And it says this: with what shall I come before the Lord and bow down before the exalted God? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Would the Lord be pleased with the thousands of rams, with 10,000 rivers of oil? Shall I offer my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has shown you, people, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Charlie's one of those guys that I think shows us what it looks like to walk humbly. He didn't want to come up here. Charlie's one of those guys that I'll be in my office, and he'll come by and, hey, Charlie, what's going said, I just want to come and pray for you. Just want to come and pray for you. So he'll pray for me, and it's awesome. I think that as we journey into these next couple of weeks of Sundays, and we're going to take a break from This Is Our Story, and we're going to talk about the one thing you shouldn't talk about in church, politics. And I think we might be better served as a people if we walked humbly through these next couple of months. That if we loved mercy, if we acted justly, and we walked humbly, it might serve us a bit better over the next couple of months. And so that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to tell you who to vote for, and no, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. I would never do that. But I'm worried about not our church, but I'm worried about the church in America over the next couple of months. And so I think that if we can see what the Bible might say about the kingdom and politics, it maybe might help us to walk a better walk over the next couple of months, so that after November we don't have to apologize to each other. What might it look like to walk as Jesus might walk if he were here, and what that would look like? And so that'll be the next couple of Sundays, and invite your friends. It's going to be a good time. But I just think humbly, and to me that's been the position of some of the great leaders of this church. I'd go by and see Ernie, and he'd say, "Mama, give me my wallet." And he'd give me $20, which I'd go buy coffee with or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I leave it, but you have no idea what that, for me, how amazing that was. Like, I didn't come out here to get money. And they'd be like, "I need to go back and see Ernie. I need some." I didn't come out here. And then if I was out and I'd say, talk about a mission trip or something we were going on, he'd give me my wallet, and he wanted to make sure that he was a part of what was happening in the life of the church. That's the type of people that I think God is calling us to be. To love mercy, to act justly, and to walk humbly. And maybe never get the honor and the praise, but you know what? That's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because this is who God is calling me to be. That's the heart, I think, that God wants for all of us. What does God require of us? 3 things. Pretty simple list. Something I love about Jack is sometimes I've met with Jack and I'm like, "Jack, I'm thinking about this and I'm doing all this." He's like, "Seems pretty simple to me, Pastor. Love God and love others, right? Seems pretty simple. Why are we trying to make it so complicated? Why are we trying to make it so complicated?" What a great day. Oh my goodness, what a great day. We're gonna end with communion, because I think that if we're really going to walk into this open door that it seems like God's opened to us in the Dominican, if we're going to continue to reach out to people in the park, if we're going to make it through this political season and still love each other, if we're going to be the people that God's called us to be, I think that it's wrapped up in this food of being broken and poured out. And that as we partake it, we are saying this is how we want to live, this is who